I've accepted that I'm not very attractive, and have made peace with being alone. But my friends won't stop trying to set me up with someone. I am hoping to get some advice on my current predicament between myself and my friends Sam and Sarah. You see, I am very unattractive. I don't mean that as a put down on myself, but an objective fact about my appearance. I have a very naturally unappealing face with several body scars that make me difficult to look at for some people. I've had most of these scars most of my life, and of course I was born with my face, so I've never been much to look at. I have tried to compensate in other aspects of life. I have a decent job, I'm tall, and I'm in very good shape. I go to the gym and eat well. Sadly, this is far from enough to make up for how I look. I have had very few relationships, and only one sexual partner, though I'd prefer it had never happened after the fact. Though I certainly tried. Put myself out there for years and was rejected by dozens of women before meeting one that I thought would be able to look past my appearance. I lost my virginity to her and everything. But after a month she came to my place crying and saying though she found me attractive as a person she couldn't get over my appearance, and it felt terrible. She confessed sex with me was extremely difficult the 2 times we did it due to how I looked. I told her I understood, and we went our separate ways. I'd have been happier if we'd been friends and never dated if I'm being honest. That was several years ago and I swore off romantic love and sex, since it was just hurting me. Life has been pretty good since I gave up. Wish I wasn't what I am so I could find love, but I get it. I made some great friends, Sam and Sarah. Been friends with them for a few years now, and we get along great. The only issue is that they are in relationships and have this fantasy about going on triple dates with me included. Problem is of course I don't date, and so they have been trying to play matchmaker. There have been probably 7 or 8 attempts now to get me with some friend or acquaintance of theirs, ranging from being blindsided with a date when I thought I'd just be there with them, or inviting girls to parties and trying to get us together all night. I hate it. I feel bad for these girls because obviously they weren't told about this either and now they have to play nice with the weird ugly guy their friends dumped them on. Not only that, but there is this look in their eyes that I'm sadly used to now. It's a combination of sadness and fear that overcomes them when we make eye contact. I can feel them looking at every mark on my face, getting more and more grossed out and uncomfortable. Of course they're scared. This 6'6" man who looks like Frankenstein's monster has become your date for the night. I'd be scared too. I tell them every time not to set me up as I don't want to date. But they get so excited to finally find the one for me that they do it anyway. So backstory aside, I keep telling Sam and Sarah to stop setting me up. And last week they came over to hang out and Sarah kept mentioning this friend of hers from work. And start showing me pictures. I see where this is all going. And when I find out they invited her to Sam's party in a few weeks, I say cool, I look forward to meeting her. But this isn't a date, and I won't be letting them push me onto the poor girl. She's cute and from what they tell me I'm sure we'd get along great if I were normal. But that just isn't the case. Sarah begins to get upset at me, and asks me why I won't just give her a shot, so I asked if this girl had even seen a picture of me or heard about me. She admitted that she had not and hadn't planned on showing her my pic, or even telling her about me until the night of the party. I'll admit I snapped and told both of them to stop playing matchmaker. I was sick of it, and showed them texts from 2 of the girls they victimized. They were kind enough to tell me they liked me but weren't physically attracted to me. Showed the texts and Sarah and Sam made an excuse and left. Haven't heard from them in a week. Comments. Comment 1. Due to psych trauma during growing up, I felt like I'm the ugliest moto around. Having a picture of me taken was terrifying. There are like no pics of me between 12 and 18. Because I'd hide, put a hand over my face, whatever. And you know I was surely right about it. I never had a geef growing up, etc. etc. Many years later when I look at any of my pictures, recent or old, I don't see an ugly person. Sure, maybe not conventionally attractive. But bloody hell was my self-perception twisted. Over years and years of relationships. Of having people literally in my DMs telling me they are horny for me, yada. I realized what a head case I was. Comment 2. The thing that OOP and people like him don't get is that when you get that down and negative about yourself, it puts out a vibe that's literally repellent to many other people. Some people that are otherwise perfectly dateable will stay single, because most people don't want to have to convince you that you're just a person like everyone else. Update. After spending hours reading and responding to users both in thread and in DMs, I decided to reach out to Sam and Sarah and try to set things right. We met up to talk, and to keep it short, Sam and Sarah hadn't reached out because they felt terrible after realizing their mistakes. They were very apologetic, and I promised that as long as they stopped trying to set me up and forgave me for snapping at them, then we were cool with each other. Looks like communication saves the day again. So after our talk they asked if I wanted to come over and play some games and have a few drinks with them, and some of their work friends. Sarah admitted the girl, Laura, that they wanted to set me up with would be there, but that they hadn't said anything to her about me, and there would be no pressure or matchmaking going on. So I agreed to go. So last night I came over for drinks and games. I met Laura without some stupid blind date pretext, and she's a lovely person. We have several interests in common and she and I have very similar jobs within different companies, so we have a lot to talk about. It's great. They didn't meddle and I got a new friend. Easy peasy. Heck, we get along so great she's inviting me over to her place tonight to watch some movies we both learned were some of our favorites. Then some pizza and complaining about working in IT. So my social life is alive and well it seems. That's about it as far as my update is concerned. Sam, Sarah and I are cool. I made a new friend and I got to talk to so many wonderful people on Reddit. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to read my post and give me your opinions and advice. There are some really great folks in this community. Heck, I'm still receiving a few messages a day of kindness from you awesome people. New update. A few years ago I came to Reddit to ask about an issue I was having with my friends trying to set me up on blind dates. I have linked those posts above for context. I am physically very unattractive due to various circumstances in my life, leaving me scarred, which causes issues in blind dating as you might guess. I then updated it after we had resolved the issue. The woman they were going to try and set me up with before our argument, Laura, ended up being really cool and without the pressure of it being a blind date, and just us hanging out with a larger group we clicked and were fast friends. We hung out the night after at her place to watch movies and eat pizza. It was great. We started hanging out more and more as time went on and eventually she asked me out. I was terrified initially but decided to go for it. She's not bothered by my scars. She looks at me with kindness and warmth that is indescribably wonderful to me. Laura and I are still together. We got a place together not too long ago and I intend to propose to her early next year. Sam, Sarah and I are all still great friends. We now go on those triple dates they always wanted. We even did our first Friendsgiving with them, their SOs, and the kids. Laura loves getting to cook for a house full of guests and we intend to try and host more group meals now that we have a place with space for it. It wasn't easy, but with a growing support network in Laura and my friends I was able to finally get some more help for my mental health, to work on my insecurities and trauma. Been going for over a year now and progress is slow but steady. Laura has been my rock. I love her more than I ever hated myself, so it's been easier than I expected to keep going to therapy appointments. So that's about it. I was in a very dark place and some kindness from internet strangers helped me through a rough patch, so I wanted to repay them by at least posting an update. Even if most of those people have since moved on. Now, for the next story. AITAH for raising my voice at a person with special needs while at the gym. I, 29 male, have been going to the same gym for the past 10 years. There are a number of trainers that appear to work exclusively with people that have special needs, both physically and mentally. They work in one-to-one sessions, trainers showing them how to use each machine safely and putting together an exercise program for them, and they're also often accompanied by a guardian. I want to say straight away that I have zero issues with this at all. I love going to the gym, and it's great to see others enjoying it too. As long as everyone is working out in a safe way, everything is fine. I've seen what I would call a few near misses, with weights being dropped close to others, or machines being used improperly, but I've never seen anyone be seriously hurt. So today I entered the gym and walked past a trainer I hadn't seen before. She was with a guy that I had seen a few times before. I'm not sure what his condition is, so I apologize if any of the following sounds offensive. I don't intend for it to. I'm just explaining what happened. As I walked past, he was loudly counting the number of reps he was doing on the leg press. I continued over to the dumbbells, got set up at a bench, and started my workout. After a couple of sets, the guy came over and stood just next to my bench, about a meter away from me, just staring at me. His trainer was still over at the leg press on her phone. It was a little awkward with him standing there, but he wasn't in my way, so I don't say anything. As soon as I pick up the weight from the bench, he sits down on the bench. As I noticed what he was doing, I just said, "I'm using that bench, mate," but he proceeds to start doing sit-ups and again loudly counts them out. So this guy is lying back on my towel, wallet and phone. I repeat again, "Mate, I'm using this one," as I put down the weights and try to pull my belongings out from under his sweaty back. I guess hearing the counting, the trainer notices what happened and came over and apologizes. I just give a nod but don't say anything. I wasn't exactly impressed that she wasn't keeping a better eye on him. I moved a few benches over and thought that was the end of it. Next I was on the bench press, so holding a large amount of weight over my chest. The guy comes over again and stands right next to bench in line to my face. Right where I need to put the weights back on the rack, just staring down at me. Again. I said calmly, "You need to move, mate. I need to put the weight down." He just stared at me, half smiling. I asked him twice more, and he just continued staring. Not a single sign that he had understood or even heard me. So I called out loudly for help. Luckily the trainer heard, again coming over to apologize and pull him out of the way. I put the weight back, and then said to her that she needs to keep an eye on him, because he's going to end up getting himself seriously hurt. Some time passes without incident. They're on the other side of the gym, and I'm on one of the cable machines doing triceps pushdowns. I get to my last rep of my last set, and just as I push down, 110 pounds of metal raised in the air. From out of nowhere this guy lets out a huge scream, and lunges at the raised weight stack in front of me. Now this is what went through my head in the moment. I'm on my last rep, so I probably had about 2 seconds that I could hold the weight before my muscles failed and the weight came crashing down. With that weight there was a good chance that he would be seriously injured, lost crushed finger, broken hand, arm, etc. I knew that my last attempts of speaking calmly had yielded zero response from him, and I didn't have time to call for his negligent trainer to come and help. I screamed at the top of my lungs, "Get away from IT." The guy jumped back like he'd had the fright of his life. I lowered the weights, and immediately turned around, enraged and looking for the trainer. Well, she was already on the way over, no doubt because she'd heard me yell. "What the hell are you doing? Did you see what he just did?" I ask, as the guy starts loudly crying. She comes over and asks why I would yell at him, since he doesn't know any better. I again asked if she'd seen what happened, and that he was almost seriously hurt. And yeah, he didn't know better, which is exactly why she should have been there to watch him. I guess the guy's guardian, maybe his mother, unsure, had heard everything as well. She came in, and the trainer immediately tells her that I yelled at him for standing too close. I tried explaining that he was almost seriously hurt, and that he wasn't being supervised properly. We went back and forth, but both the trainer and guardian were not satisfied with my explanation, calling me an asshole for raising my voice to him like that. Next thing I know, they've called one of the other trainers from the gym, who told me to leave, and that they'd be suspending my membership, before I was able to explain to him my side of the story. I plan to speak to the manager or another trainer tomorrow, and I'm hoping that it was captured clearly enough on KEK that I can get my membership back. Comments. Comment 1. Glad they had the sect footage to exonerate the OP. Also, when dealing with special needs clients, perhaps they need to have better supervision for their newly hired employees. This is mission critical. Never mind other patrons. The special need client could get hurt, and that's a very avoidable problem. Comment 2. I'm not sure why there's people in the comments insisting that the disabled chap in this story should be able to keep himself safe in the gym without supervision. Like, yes, that would be great. That might be the end goal of a treatment program. Or it might be impossible for him. There's no way of knowing, because we're just reading a story on the internet. That's not a blessed. There are people whose disabilities mean they act in inappropriate, unsafe or antisocial ways, and they are people too. The facts are that 1. At the time of OP encountering him, he was not safe to be unsupervised in the gym, through probably no fault of his own, and 2. People with even very profound mental disabilities deserve to be able to have hobbies and access sports facilities and public spaces, which is why he had, or was supposed to have had, supervision. The fault is with the failure of that supervision, not with an intellectually disabled guy for being in the gym. Update. Tight. I went by the gym this morning and asked to speak to a manager about what happened yesterday. They agreed to see me. I explained everything as I had in my post, and asked if they could review the sect VI to see what actually happened, and possibly reinstate my membership. I said that I believed the trainer yesterday had misrepresented what happened, as a lot of you pointed out, to hide the fact that she was not neglecting the guy she was meant to be supervising. Surprisingly, he said that this wasn't the first time they had received complaints about that trainer. He said she'd only been there 2 weeks, and has already had a complaint from both a client and another trainer from the gym. Though he didn't go into detail about what those complaints were. He said to leave it with him, and he'd get back to me. About an hour ago I got a call from the manager, saying he'd reviewed the footage, and it was consistent with my story. The first 2 interactions I had with him, with the dumbbells and on the bench press, were clear in the footage. The third time was apparently obscured by some other equipment. But he said it was enough to see the guy approach me from behind without the trainer, and he was willing to take my word about what happened next. My gym membership had been reinstated, and they've given me the next 2 months free. I think I'll be putting that money I saved towards a nice bottle of whiskey. He also said not to worry about the trainer, she won't be around anymore. So I think it's safe to assume she lost her job. Hopefully this is a wake-up call for her, and she won't be putting anyone else in harm's way in the future.